Sonic team has done something absolutely insane. They've released an official Sonic timeline, and I'm here to break it down for y'all and add in a little bits and pieces so you guys can really understand it, because a lot of this does make sense and a lot of this is kind of surprising. They retcon, or not retcon, but they kind of avoid things that I didn't think they would avoid. But we'll get into that right now. Let's just start with the prehistory. The stuff's important. So it says here, destruction and regeneration, dark Gaia and light Gaia. At some point, dark Gaia, which grew over millions of years, destroyed the earth, and light Gaia healed it, repeating the same history. So we heard about this in Sonic Unleashed, that the earth basically started with dark and light Gaia, and we didn't know where we stood on that, but now we know that that's definitely something that happened. Dark Gaia and light Gaia are still dormant in the planet, and those temples are still somewhere around the world. The next thing that happens is the Ancients and the Chaos Emeralds. The Ancients take refuge on Earth with the Chaos Emeralds. A small number of their descendants escape to a place called Mystic Ruins and build a temple to the Master Emerald. Over the course of hundreds and thousands of years, the Ancients become the Chao. Now, we knew this in Frontiers through the little lore sections, that the Ancients from the Starfall Islands, they kind of became the Chao over thousands of years. Even kind of watched that game theory where it said how that could have happened. But yes, this is now confirmed that this happened. So already, Earth has just begun, and there's been two massive events. Earth is cooked at the start. Tens of thousands of years ago, Dark Gaia's destruction of Earth in the earliest record. So the Earth is destroyed by a super energy life form called Dark Gaia that emerged from the core of a star. This event was later recorded in the ancient documents known as the Gaia documents. This is also the Gaia manuscripts. This is the earliest recording. This is when humans were around to record this. This is how we got the Gaia manuscripts in the game that tells of this. So obviously it happened way before, but it had to keep happening until civilization hit, and then somebody recorded it and was like, holy shit, we lived through this. This shit happens every so long. Tens of thousands to thousands of years ago, the ancestor of the Babylonian bandits washed up on Earth. A spaceship from faraway space goes out of control, and the race that is the ancestor of the Babylon bandits crash lands on Earth. The engine unit of the ship that was separated at the time is scattered around the world, and later comes to be called the Ark of the Stars. The exact time is unknown. So, as we've said, they're basically at the prehistory of Earth before Sonic even set foot on it. It's been crazy. It's been destroyed multiple times. Multiple races have just crash landed on Earth and made refuge. It's insane, but this was talked about in Zero Gravity, so we will move on to thousands of years ago. This is when stuff starts to get a little familiar to us. The Echidna tribe is destroyed by the wrath of the Chaos. So the Echidna tribe attacks the temple of the Master Emerald to steal it, but their Chao companions are sacrificed, and the Echidna tribe is wiped out by the enraged Chaos. So this sheds some light on the super early events that we saw in Sonic Adventure, how the Master Emerald was kind of its own thing, and then the Echidna tribe sought to, I guess, steal it, which is kind of crazy because we always think of the Echidnas as the protectors, because Knuckles is the protector. But, Sonic Adventure, we learned that it wasn't always like that. 2,000 years ago, the Black Arms preparations for invasion of the Earth. So the Black Arms drop a flying temple on Griffith on Earth. Yes, so this is Sky Troops. Remember in Shadow the Hedgehog, Black Doom tells Shadow, hey, I brought this here thousands of years ago, and right now it is the battle site for the humans and Eggman against my forces. So this temple, this flying temple they're talking about, this is the stage Sky Troops. Emerald is born. So in ancient civilization, combat robots called gizoids are created, one of which is later named Emerald. So yes, we do get some light shit on this later, but it's interesting to note that this happens somewhere around the time that the Black Arms sent the, flying temple to Earth. So now we're going to get into the nitty gritty of what we truly know. We have 50 years ago, Black Doom and the Dark Pact. Black Doom contacts Professor Gerald and offers up his own DNA in exchange for guidance on how to invade Earth 50 years from now. Shadow is then created from that DNA. So we learned about this in Shadow. We get a little bit more of this in Shadow Gens, but like it says, Black Doom contacts Professor Gerald. They make a deal, and, Gerald later comes to regret that. This is the starting point of Shadow the Hedgehog, and it's very interesting that, still in my mind is that Gerald was just willing to do anything to make the ultimate life form so that he may have a shot at, saving his granddaughter. I mean, that is very the Ark destruction incident. Now, the ancient combat robots gizoid that were the subject of research within the Ark go out of control, causing extensive damage to the Ark facilities. This is one of the reasons why Gunn intervenes at Ark. So we always thought that it was just Project Shadow was getting a little too out of hand, time to shut it down, no witnesses type shit. What it actually was, people up in the Ark were doing stuff with the gizoids, and it was causing damage to the facility, and Gunn was like, yo, what is going on up there? Are you not doing what we told you to do up there? Are you doing a lot of stuff? You're gonna have to come up and put some belts to ass, because what's going on? You're doing a lot. The gun attack, Maria is killed in the sudden gun attack. Gerald, who has lost his mind due to his granddaughter's death, prepares to take revenge on the Ark system and Shadow, but he's also imprisoned and executed. So this is obviously the story of Sonic Adventure 2, where he rigged the Ark to basically fall onto Earth because he lost his granddaughter. Valid crash out, mind you. And, Shadow wakes up 50 years later, and he's like, yo, I'm trying to get that plan started, Eggman, you know what I mean? Just follow me up to the Ark. I'm a genie. I'll grant you a wish. So 10 years ago. Now, this is where shit starts to blow my mind, because we're getting into Sonic 06 territory. And Sonic and Elise altered history. Sonic and Elise go back in time and blow out the Solaris flames, which are the source of the tragedy. This means that the Solaris experiment never failed, the world is saved from crisis, and the devastated future becomes a peaceful world. However, this series of events also never happens in history. I know this was probably said in the game, but it never came to my mind that Sonic sort of went back to a time where he wasn't even there yet and basically saved the world by blowing out this flame. And it's really interesting to know that it's at some point, like 10 years ago, so it's like 40 years. So somewhere, would that be the 90s? Since Shadow technically woke up in 2000. And so he went in during the 50s. So that would technically be the 90s then. They went back to the 90s and they blew out this flame, and that's when the experiment was happening. That is so interesting to me. It never really occurred to me like that, but it's cool that they mentioned that here. And this will play a part later. But then we also have the reality that did happen before the candle was blown out. So what did happen, what caused them to go back and blow that candle, was that the Solaris experiment failed. It was the seal. So when King Soliana's Solaris experiment goes awry, he sacrifices his own life to seal Iblis inside his daughter, Elise, to prevent the flames of calamity, or the flames of disaster, you're from the English dub, from being awakened and destroying the world. So this is what we saw, Father of the Year put an ancient demon, whatever, inside his daughter and said, you can't cry, I'm about to die, you're about to lose your father. Don't cry ever. So we entered the classic era. So all that stuff happened, and now we're finally getting to Sonic's debut here. The classic era, Dr. Eggman attacks South Island. Sonic defeats Dr. Eggman, who attacks South Island to steal the Chaos Emeralds and prevents him from taking over the world. Yes, we love that. And then we have Sonic CD immediately after. Sonic rescues Amy, who is kidnapped by Metal Sonic. Amy, who had a fateful encounter with Sonic on Little Planet, became embroiled in Dr. Eggman's evil deeds and was kidnapped by Metal Sonic. Sonic defeated Metal Sonic and rescued Amy, thus thwarting Dr. Eggman's ambitions. Straight into Sonic 2, Sonic and Tails work together to defeat Dr. Eggman, who attacks West Side Island. The destroyed space fortress, the Death Egg, crashes and lands into Angel Island. So we've got all this. We've been know this. It's very simple storytelling in the classic games. We're getting to Sonic 3 and Knuckles territory. Dr. Eggman tricks Knuckles into stealing the Master Emerald and plots to revive the crashed space fortress, the Death Egg. However, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles work together to destroy the Death Egg, thwarting Dr. Eggman's ambitions of world domination. The Master Emerald is restored, and Angel Island rises into the sky once again. Now, I don't know if this is some sort of translation thing, because I don't think there's an official English version out yet. I am looking at the Japanese website translated to English. But what's interesting to me here is the website says Dr. Eggman tricks Knuckles into stealing the Master Emerald. So that's a little different, right? Because we always thought Knuckles is the protector of the Master Emerald. He was just sort of tricked into, you know, fucking over Sonic, basically, and letting Eggman do whatever with the Master Emerald. But if this website is to be taken at face value, which we'll take it at face value so far, because it is literally the writings of God Sega Team Sonic themselves, then this is to say that, similar to his ancestors, Knuckles was trying to come up on that Master Emerald, and, you know, he got cooked in the end. It's interesting to see that he was tricked into stealing it, and he wasn't protecting it always. He most likely became the protector after he saw that shit, A, caused the Angel Island to fall after taking it out, and B, after being tricked, seeing that Eggman was evil, and was like, okay, this is power that can't fall into evil hands. I gotta protect it. I'm the last of the echidnas. That's what I'm getting from this. I could be wrong, though. They could release the English one tomorrow and go, hey, side note, Ren's a fucking idiot. Don't listen to him. Now, we enter newer territory. This makes me smile because it's kind of cool to know that as we go on, the immediate, what we thought was Sonic 3 and Knuckles immediately going into Sonic Adventure was actually Sonic 3 and Knuckles going into Mania, then Mania Plus, then Superstars. That's kind of crazy to me. But, I mean, it would make sense. These are classic era games. But we'll touch on this a little bit. We'll actually touch on this after reading the Mania one. So it says, the mysterious secret stone Phantom Ruby. Dr. Eggman unearths a gem with mysterious powers called the Phantom Ruby, which sends Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles to various worlds. After being defeated by Sonic and his friends, the Phantom Ruby leaves Dr. Eggman's hands and disappears across time and space into modern Sonic's world, Sonic Forces. Now, what is really interesting about this is that they say into modern Sonic's world. So, does this mean that this isn't really some sort of time thing where there's a different world that is just modern Sonic, and there's a different world where it's just classic Sonic? Because there are a few things that happen in this timeline where if this is past versions of the characters, they should remember this. This is one of them. Since Dr. Eggman in the classic era uncovers the Phantom Ruby, you think he would remember that later in Forces, but there's no mention of that. But the next one here, fateful battle over the Phantom Ruby. After saving the world with modern Sonic in Sonic Forces, Sonic returns to his original time. He chases after the flying Phantom Ruby and discovers Mighty and Ray have been captured. Sonic rescues them, but one of them is fake. Sonic saves his friends and defeats Dr. Eggman, who has once again obtained the Phantom Ruby, and world peace is once again secured. Now, we obviously knew that Sonic Mania Plus did tie in to the events of Forces, because when you start a Sonic Mania Plus save, Sonic will be teleported in with the Phantom Ruby effects, waving goodbye as he was at the end of Sonic Forces when he was waving goodbye to the modern characters. So this, obviously we knew that Mania Plus took place immediately after, but what's interesting is they again use Sonic returns to his original time. They don't say his original world, his original dimension, they say original time. So it is interesting that Eggman nor Sonic remember these events happening. Like, again, or Sonic meeting himself from the future, he'd be like, oh my goodness, yeah, this event was destined to happen because I remember meeting myself from the future way back when. And Dr. Eggman would also remember having the Phantom Ruby, but we'll skip past this. We'll glide past that because our next game is Sonic Superstars. Sorry, I almost vomited saying that name. You know how I feel about that game. Dr. Eggman invades the North Star Islands. Dr. Eggman and the bounty hunter Fang invade the North Star Islands. They overwork and drag Trip, who lives there, around. Sonic and his friends use the Chaos Emerald's new power, Emerald Power, to thwart Dr. Eggman and his men's evil deeds. Even though I don't like Superstars, I do hope that Trip stays around. I think Trip is a great designed character. I like her personality. Very good character. But yeah, so immediately after Mania Plus is Sonic Superstars, which makes sense because Sonic has the drop dash now. So now, after this, we immediately spin into the modern era. And here we have our first games in the modern era. No, not Sonic Adventure. Sonic 4 Episode 1 and 2. Which, I mean, saying it out loud, Yeah, that makes sense. A fierce battle with resurrected Metal Sonic. Dr. Eggman has completely revived Metal Sonic. He makes the Death Egg Mark II rise above Little Planet and sets out to conquer the world. However, Sonic once again wins a fierce battle against Metal Sonic, destroying the Death Egg Mark II and dashing Dr. Eggman's ambitions. Yes, I can't believe that the first in the modern era is Sonic 4 Episode 2, but it makes sense. It is called Sonic 4. It is a 2D game. It's kind of crazy. Though somehow Sonic did forget the drop dash. Hands up in the air. Obviously, they didn't know the drop dash was a thing back when they released these games, but it's just kind of funny. Okay. He'll relearn it later. Don't worry. Sonic and his friends save the world from the threat of perfect chaos. Now we enter the adventure era. And it's interesting because we've entered the classic era, we enter the modern era, and Sonic gets his modern moveset. Yes, he gets the homing attack here, which he then gets here, perfected basically in adventure. So Dr. Eggman releases Chaos, who is sealed away in the Master Emerald, and tries to use it to take over the world. However, Chaos goes out of control and evolves into Perfect Chaos, bringing the world to the brink of destruction. However, thanks to Sonic and the wishes of many people, the Chaos Emeralds, which had lost their power, are restored, and Sonic transforms into Super Sonic, stops Perfect Chaos, and crushes Dr. Eggman's ambitions. We know that, and then we enter not Sonic Adventure 2. We enter Sonic Shuffle. Yeah, they have this timeline will include a lot of spin-offs, and I kind of like that. So, Crisis of Marginal World, is that what it's called? A different world of lights and dreams. Lumina, Lumina, the guardian spirit of the Marginal World, summons Sonic and his friends to stop Void from conquering Marginal World. Sonic and Lumina use magic cards and force jewels to save Marginal World from the brink of collapse. Then we go to Sonic Adventure 2. After Sonic had a little bit of a break, chilling, playing some party games, he goes straight into peak. Dr. Eggman awakens Shadow and tries to use him to take over the world, but Shadow uses him instead to carry out the revenge plan left by Gerald. In the final stage of his revenge, Shadow regains his true memories thanks to Amy. He cooperates with Sonic and saves the world at the cost of his own life. Yep. So here's where we start scratching our heads a little tiny bit, because not only does Advance 2 happen after, SA2, which would technically make sense, but we just completely skip Advance 1. Advance 1 is not here. And I'm guessing that's because that game had little to no story at all, but they didn't even include it like they did for Sonic 4 Episode 1 and 2. They didn't even include it in this slide. It's just 2. Cream and Cheese First Adventure. Sonic meets Cream and saves her with his friends. They rescue Vanilla, who was kidnapped, and defeat Dr. Eggman, who was plotting to build Eggman Land again. Then we head into Sonic Heroes, which makes sense. We have to introduce Cream, so now we bring her into Sonic Heroes. Metal Sonic, who has regained his sense of self, rebels and imprisons Dr. Eggman, and in his name issues a challenge to Sonic and his friends to conquer the world. Metal Sonic gathers Sonic and his friends' biodata during the battle and becomes more powerful, but is ultimately defeated by Sonic and his friends. Great game. Love Sonic Heroes. Now we get to Shadow the Hedgehog. Black Doom, an alien invader, invades Earth. Shadow, provoked by Black Doom to learn about his past, travels the world in search of the Chaos Emeralds, sometimes at odds with Sonic and the others. After many struggles, Shadow defeats Black Doom, fulfills the wish entrusted to him, and resolves to overcome his past and move forward. Right, we've been knew this. Now we get into the final 2 Game Boy games. Basically, we got Sonic Battle, Sonic Advance 3. We've been knew these tied together. Dr. Eggman tries to reboot the ancient weapon Gizoid and use it to take over the world, but it doesn't work, and he discards it. Sonic picks it up and names it Emerald and raises it. Dr. Eggman tries to use Emerald, who has gained powers as a combat weapon, but ends up causing him to go out of control. There's no way to stop Emerald safely, and Sonic ends up defeating him. Then we have Gemerald. So I think this is what he's called in Japan, but we're going to say Gemerald because we know Gemerald. That's our homie right there. Dr. Eggman uses the power of the Chaos Emeralds to split the world into 7 parts. Remember that. He repeatedly used Gemerald, a combat robot he developed based on Emerald, against Sonic and his friends, but was unable to win, and eventually Gemerald went berserk. Dr. Eggman was defeated. Gemerald was then retrieved and repaired by Tails, and began living as a member of the Cream family. So, yeah, we've been knew that. And in the comics, we see Gemerald with Cream and Vanilla. It's very wholesome, very nice. Then we get Sonic Rush. I love Sonic Rush, so that's why I started smiling like a madman. Sonic Rush is so good. Blaze comes to Sonic World from another world in pursuit of the stolen Soul Emeralds. Through her interactions with Amy and Cream and fighting alongside Sonic, Blaze begins to trust Sonic and the others a little. Sonic and Blaze work together to defeat Dr. Eggman and Eggman Nega, and Blaze recovers the Soul Emeralds and returns to his own, or her world. I don't know why I keep saying his. Anyway, but immediately after, or not immediately, but sometime after Rush, we get 06. We all know 06. In order to obtain the Flame of Calamity, Dr. Eggman kidnaps Princess Elise, who was sealed away by Iblis. Sonic rushes to rescue her, and Silver, who travels back in time to defeat Sonic in order to save the future. Shadow, who is on a mission to Dr. Eggman's base, and the mysterious being Mephiles all become entangled in a major incident, each with their own intentions and destinies. Yes, that is one way to put it. After that, we get Sonic Riders. It's kind of funny that, well, technically 06 never happened, so technically after Rush, we just get Riders. Everyone's chilling, and Dr. Eggman is trusted enough to host an extreme gear competition. Hands up in the air, I just think that he should be criminal number 1 and we shouldn't trust anything he does, but sure, we can just ride some boards. Sonic and his friends compete in a heated race against the Babylon Bandits for prize, the Chaos Emerald. Just one Chaos Emerald. However, the race is a trap set by Dr. Eggman to steal the treasures of the Babylon Temple. It doesn't go as well. But after that, we get Sonic Rush Adventure. Sonic and Tails are caught in a storm and washed up on Blaze's world. They are rescued by Marine, a self-proclaimed adventurer, and whilst investigating the islands, they are reunited with Blaze. However, before they can enjoy their reunion, they are caught up in a natural disaster in the Jeweled Staff, or natural disaster. They're caught up in a national treasure, the Jeweled Staff, being stolen right before their eyes, and they end up chasing pirates with Blaze. Sonic and his friends defeat Dr. Eggman and Dr. Eggman Nega, who were controlling the pirates, and retrieve the Jeweled Staff. Great game. Highly recommend you play it. Then we get Sonic Riders Zero Gravity. Jet's ancestor was capable of warp travel through gravity conversion. That spaceship was the modern Babylon Garden and the Ark of the Stars. So, as you remember, the Ark of the Stars, remember that way earlier on, was its engine unit. When all 5 Ark of the Stars gathered in the Babylon Garden floating in the sky, the output went out of control and Babylon Garden was on the verge of turning into a black hole. Sonic, Jet, and the others were able to avert the worst case scenario. Very true. Now, remember when I said remember what happened in Advance 3? This is where that comes in. In order to realize his ambitions, Dr. Eggman took the powers from Supersonic, split the planet into 7, and forcibly awakened Dark Gaia. Sonic, along with the Amnesiac chip, traveled to the Gaia temples to restore the powered Chaos Emeralds and the world, regaining his powers and defeating Dark Gaia. So, Dr. Eggman has split the world into 7 twice now. I don't know how he keeps doing it. He didn't need the Chaos Emeralds to do it last time, I don't think. And it's kind of interesting that Dark Gaia last time was kind of just shrugged it off. Yeah, okay, I'll let you off with a warning, buddy. But he did it twice, and Dark Gaia got really uppity about it. He didn't awaken the last time. I just found it funny. But yeah, so now we've traveled through Sonic Colors. Dr. Eggman takes over the planets where the wisps live and builds Egg Planet Park. He plans to steal the energy of the alien wisps who live there and activate a terrible weapon. That's the mind control weapon. I wouldn't say it's terrible, but whatever. Sonic and his friends cooperate with the wisps even though they can't communicate with each other and thwart Dr. Eggman's ambitions. And here we get to Sonic Generations, which has been defaulted to Sonic X Shadow Generations, which has a little bit of rewrites in it, so that's kind of cool to see. After his defeat at Egg Planet Park, Dr. Eggman finds the Time Eater who can manipulate time and space. He uses its power to summon his past self and begin a plan to rewrite the timeline. Sonic is sucked into the Time Eater, who suddenly appears and wakes up in a world of pure white. He meets a smaller version of himself there, and together they work together to restore his friends and the world whose life force and color had been sucked out, and defeat the 2 Dr. Eggman and the Time Eater. Now, what's really interesting here, right, is they mentioned earlier that, forces obviously tied to Mania, but they don't ever mention Sonic Generations in the past. And I say this because Sonic meets his future self, but past Sonic wouldn't remember, or Future Sonic doesn't remember meeting his past self. I don't know what Sonic they take from, because technically, if we're going off X Shadow Gens, Sonic is the drop dash, so it could technically just be at the end of the classic era, before he gets the homing attack, where, you know, he basically, you know, has the drop dash and is after Superstars, and he would eventually learn the homing attack thanks to modern Sonic and Sonic 4. It's just kind of like time thing is kind of crazy. Time is a huge thing in this franchise, apparently. I mean, I've been knew that, but now it's really setting in that so many events have happened in the past, and past coming to future, and future coming to past, and so that this, that, and the fourth. It's just interesting that Generations is its own little bubble technically, because it's mentioned nowhere else. But again, we have Shadow Side taking advantage of the time-space anomaly caused by the Time Eater. Black Doom is resurrected. When he reunites with Shadow in whitespace, he provokes him and encourages him to awaken to his powers. Meanwhile, Maria and Gerald, who were supposed to be dead, are resurrected. They spend a fleeting precious time together in the stopped time space. In the end, Black Doom attempts to absorb Shadow, who has become the strongest Black Arms warrior, but Shadow's heart was not consumed by darkness, and he refuses. With Maria's wish in his heart, he defeats Black Doom. So obviously, yes, we know that. Again, Generations technically might just be its own bubble, or Sonic characters don't have a memory that lasts longer than a year. Who knows? But then after Generations is Free Riders. Dr. Eggman disguises himself as King Doc of the Tar Egg Kingdom in order to embed the biodata of Sonic and the other racers into Metal Sonic. He holds the World Grand Prix, a global competition for extreme gear, where the winner will receive a huge prize of money and treasure. The race begins where the thoughts of each participant team intersect. Now, I think this was a smarter alternative, because Eggman's done some crazy shit, like split the world into 7 pieces twice. So I am kind of glad that he uses a disguise here. But come on, the Tar Egg Kingdom. Whatever. The 6 demons betray Eggman. So now he enters Sonic Lost World. Dr. Eggman finds the Lost Hex, a mystical land where the Oni clan live, and uses the conch shell, which is their weak point, to enslave the 6 demons and absorb life energy from the earth. However, after losing the conch shell, the 6 demons betray Eggman, banish him, steal the device, and suck out all of the life energy, putting the Earth in danger of collapse. Sonic and Dr. Eggman have no choice but to join forces to defeat the 6 demons, and they defeat them. Yep, so we get Lost World. Nothing really new here. I don't remember them being called the Oni Clan. I just remember them always being the Deadly Six. They were Zeddy. I guess in Japan they're the only clan. I'm gonna fucking... Oh my god. They're the Oni clan. King Dodonpa holds a car race in the Dodonpa Kingdom. They don't even get a picture here. Dr. Eggman steals the ultimate power engine developed by Dodonpa of the Dodonpa Kingdom and plots to use it for evil purposes. However, just as he's using the engine for evil purposes, he's defeated by Sonic and his friends, and his ambitions are thwarted. They don't even pay that game no respect. They don't put a fucking picture. Then we get Sonic Forces. Dr. Eggman creates an infinite army with the power of the newly acquired Phantom Ruby. So he just doesn't remember that he ever had this, despite the fact that he's now had it twice in the past. Mania and Mania Plus. So he's had it twice in the past. He doesn't remember that. With Infinite at his side, he takes control of 99% of the world. However, Dr. Eggman and his allies are defeated by the Resistance Army formed by Sonic's friends and the Avatar who joined it, Modern and Classic Sonic, and pieces restored to the world. Yep, so this sends Classic Sonic back to Mania Plus. So this Classic Sonic has met his future self twice, and Modern Sonic has no memory of it. Though they do point out to Generations, but they say here that Sonic is from a different dimension. So I wonder if they're just removing that altogether and saying that he's just from the past, but why no recollection, right? So move on, and we finally head to Frontiers. These two are Frontiers. While investigating the ancient ruins, he discovered on Angel Island. Knuckles is sent to Ares Island. Just as Knuckles thinks that Dr. Eggman is behind it, a mysterious girl appears and traps him in cyberspace. So that was the short we got before the game's release. Very good short. Love that animation. That was a great take on Knuckles. I highly recommend you watch it. But then we go straight into Frontiers. Dr. Eggman attempted to use the technology of the ancients of the Starfall Islands and connected to the network. causing a series of incidents. Sage evolved by accessing the Ancients' technology and began to interfere with Sonic in order to protect Dr. Eggman, who was trapped in cyberspace. In the process, Sage noticed the unknown potential of Sonic, whose answers could not be found through calculations, and suggested to Dr. Eggman that they fight the true enemy together. Together, they defeated the End and saved the world. Right? Type shit. And these last cliff notes here, this is where we end off in present day, but these are the last cliff notes here of the 2 futures that happened from Sonic 06. So we have the world before the change. The world has been devastated by Iblis. Silver and Blaze are fighting an endless battle against Iblis, who keeps resurrecting. With the guidance of Mephiles, a mysterious figure who suddenly appears, the 2 travel back in time to the era in which Sonic and his friends live to kill the person who is said to be the Iblis trigger and cause the devastation. And then, once they blow out the candle, they have the altered future world. Due to Sonic and Elisa's change to history, the calamity of fire no longer exists, and the disaster itself has not occurred, leaving the world in a state of peace. So there you have it, an official timeline of events. They leave out games like Advance 1, which didn't really have a story, but they leave out games like Rivals, which is very interesting to me, but they do so. This timeline is very neat and tidy though. There are some nitpicks I have with it, like the whole past, not remembering yourself, yada yada yada, not sticking things in certain places. That sounds very wrong, but you know what I meant. Among other things, this is a very neat and tidy, and I wonder if they're gearing up sort of for something big, but this is just a confirmation of what's happened when it happened. So as we go on, we don't have to wonder anymore, because we always just assumed the games in chronological order just sort of happened in chronological order as they released, but now we know that certain games happen in the past, certain games happen in the future. But yeah, there's a good timeline. I'm excited for the future of Sonic, and I definitely can't wait to see what else they release. Hopefully they release some other cool stuff for me to look at. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Yeah.